Hello. Well, I am going to be I am going to work my way from fires in Maui through Oprah Winfrey's culpability in this to school prayers. But before I get onto that, I'll tell you I'm Grannyopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. I let you know when I've uploaded new videos on at Grannyopteryx on Twitter and Gab. It might be worth your while to subscribe to one of those. What else? Yeah, all the links are in the description, including links to donation sites. If you want to use any of them, I very much appreciate that, but I really appreciate you clicking that like button. It's supposed to help the algorithm. There's something odd going on with YouTube, so maybe it doesn't, but give it a whirl. Also, check that you are still subscribed, if you are subscribed, and if you're not, why not? Okay, let's get on with this. You see, I found this wonderful aerial video which shows the devastation after the fires in Maui, and this is by someone calling themselves New World Order. Even though it's spelt the American way, it's still very clever. And it says, meanwhile, fires in Maui seem to know how to avoid millionaire properties. That climate change sure is smart. Well, I have seen a lot of other videos, and quite a few of them blame Oprah Winfrey for the fires. That is, what they're saying is that she somehow is getting those fires set in order to drive the poor people away from her door. And the point has been made that she started off buying about 100 acres of land in Hawaii, and now she has acquired over 1,000 acres. That's what it says on the internet. It wouldn't surprise me, but not because of the fires, but because she is making a good commercial decision. No one could ever accuse Oprah Winfrey of not seeing a good commercial prospect when it's turning up. Because what's happened is this. If you look at all these rich people's houses, the list of people who own them that I have seen, they all appear to be California media types of one sort or another. And that should tell you something. The California media types have wrecked California, have they not? With their support for the democratic nonsense and the eco-nonsense and the social nonsense, and now Los Angeles generally and San Francisco, and for all I know, places in between, are completely unlivable. So what are these rich guys going to do? They're not going to live in Los Angeles and San Francisco anymore. They just want to get out. And Hawaii is a nice island. All it would take would be for one media person to go out there and then to start zooming all his or her friends about how lovely and quiet this place is, nice beaches, weather's not too bad, all the rest of it. And you get a whole load of them, because birds of a feather do flock together. People in one sort of a social group, they like talking to each other, so they'll tend to try and live in similar neighbourhoods. Okay, so is Oprah Winfrey going to pay people to burn down the houses of the poor people behind? No. No, because you can never control a wildfire. Whatever you do setting a fire, it can always go the wrong way. So why did all these rich houses survive and the poor not? Well, there are, I'm sure, dozens of reasons. And one of them would be that the poorer houses would have been made more out of wood or some sort of wood derivative, whereas the richer houses would be made out of stone or brick or cement. The poorer houses would have been closer together, and the richer houses would have had a lot of land around them, which would have functioned as a fire break. There are also things you can do to protect your house from fire, which is expensive, but methods which are expensive but which rich people can afford to do. That is, keeping their lawns completely damp all the time, having bodies of water close by, swimming pools, that sort of thing, having sprinkler systems, sprinklers that may be going over the roofs of the houses to keep the whole area damp. Whereas poorer people just have to take their chances. And did I mention that they're all crowded together? I think I probably did. So that's why the fire was choosy about what it was destroying, I'm quite sure. I don't think that it would have made any sense for people like Oprah Winfrey to start fires. Yeah, it's just too unpredictable. The wind changes and you've got a problem. So that's my take on the Maui fires. Oprah Winfrey made a good commercial decision. She bought land and now she's intending to sell that land to other rich people who will be following her and join the rest of the crowd, all escaping the mess they made in Los Angeles. I doubt she would start fires to do that. That's really not good advertising, is it? Why am I bringing school prayers into this? Because it somehow, all of this reminded me of that hymn, All Things Bright and Beautiful, which has a verse in it that goes, well, it's been removed now, but it went, the rich man in his castle, the poor man at his gate, God made them high or lowly and ordered their estate. And that has come in for a lot of ridicule from a lot of people who don't actually understand the English, including my own RE teacher, who did quote that as an example of Victorian elitism, although she didn't call it elitism at the time. But ordered, you see, it's not quite the meaning that we have now. When we think of ordered, we think of picking up the phone and ordering a pizza. No, it's not that. Ordered in the sense of making order, organising things. And the idea of that verse was that that's the way society is organised, not that the people are different. And as a matter of fact, there was another verse in another poem, trying to remember it, but it went something like the poor man in his thatched cottage and the rich man in his stately hall, and then something about God listening to and answering them all. Sorry, I don't remember the exact poetry. But you see the idea. The idea is that there are rich and there are poor, but they're all equal in the eyes of God. This was the way the Victorians had of comforting themselves over the tremendous disparity in social situations. But even so, the idea was there that everybody is equal, but society is organised with rich and poor, and you've got to, it doesn't mean you're stuck as poor. Remember, there was a lot of social mobility during Victorian times. We just don't see it now. We don't realise that. Okay, so there's that idea which suddenly occurred to me, because that rich man in his castle and the poor man at his gate meant that there was a relationship between the rich man and the poor man. Remember, in medieval times, a castle was built specifically as a refuge for the poor people. When there was something wrong, the castle is always made so there's a bit in the middle, which is called the keep, which is where the lord or the knight and his family live and will retreat to at really bad times. But the rest of the castle is just a big wall with land inside where the villagers can come if there's trouble. Siege or invasion or something, they'd all go to the rich man's house. That was the idea. The rich man gave protection and was responsible. Let's go back to Victorian times. All those Victorian novels in which you hear mention of well-off ladies going around looking after poor people. So there was this, and I don't include the cities here because the cities were a place where society basically broke down, which is what's happening now throughout the whole world. But in the agricultural areas of Britain, of English society, and Scottish and Welsh for all I know as well, there was this system whereby the rich were obliged to look after their tenants, their poorer people. Now, in this situation, we have something here about, we see all these rich people who live in these houses that are insulated from natural disasters, or at least insulated to a point from natural disasters, and they're not there, the people. They're not there offering sanctuary to the poor people because they have no connection with these poor people. The rich people will not be in those houses. They'll have taken off in their yachts or their aeroplanes and gone elsewhere during the fires. Those houses would have been basically deserted except for some security guards. So these rich people have no responsibility. They just enjoy the beachfront there when things are nice. And that's why you are getting these gossipy stories about the rich setting these fires. It's far more likely to be eco-nuts. I mean, it does look like arson to me, the pattern of the fires. I'm not an expert, I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like. But it's far more likely to be eco-nuts trying to spark the revolution. And they could very well do that. Because, as you notice, it's all the relatively poor people who are suffering here. But I don't think those rich guys are responsible for the fires. I think they probably benefit from it, but that's another matter. Okay, that's my take on the awful situation in Hawaii now, which is something, you know, it's just horrible. My sympathies, for what they're worth, to the Hawaiian people. Okay, till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Grambo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.